What happens when you give some of the world's fastest drone pilots a beginner whoop at a race event? Well, that's exactly what we're going to find out.
The target market, I've started, but I want to go down the racing path into whoops. This is perfect.
G'day, you absolute legends. Stu here from UAVfutures, and in this video today, we are taking this brand new HDzero, the nanoscout from Emax, their HD version, out to a whoop event. We're going to fly it around. You're going to see just how slow the old man is, but we're also going to hand it over to some young kids as well who are absolute wizards on the stick. So a shout out to Charlie and Dim Sim there. What we're going to do also, we're going to break it down. We're going to go through the text and the specs, and then the fun stuff will take you to the whoop event. There's like a really cool track setup. We'll fly it around. I'll give you my impressions, and you see what those experts think as well. To remember, it's not about having the best gear. It's about having the best time, and I think that's something that Emax does really, really well. They're always focused on just having fun, getting people into the hobby, and you guys watching this, I think you're going to love the idea and the missions and the things that they want to do with their Emax and nanoscout products. So let's do it. As a bit of an overview, of course, this is a tiny little whoop. The big difference, this one has built-in HDzero. So the original nanoscout, believe it or not, that analog drone is actually heavier than this one. So let's do this, 24 grams right there, which this does make this a heavier craft. And you're going to see that reflected in the flight footage and what people say about it. And also as a comparison, like if you throw it against some of the world's fastest ones, this is 17, 16 grams. Things like the Hummingbird, they are absolute weapons, not designed at beginners at all. These right here, Emax has a really good track record of getting people flying and just having a great time with FPV. Now, if we go around the outside, things are very, very similar to the last one. Of course, it's got one board, the all-in-one HDzero board in here. That is the big difference. It doesn't have a separate VTX, which is why I can keep the weight down compared to the analog version. Like, I can't believe we got a digital version which weighs less than analog version. That kind of blows my mind. We've got some tiny little motors on the outside. Like, everything else in here is pretty standard, except for the battery connector. You're going to need some specific batteries right there. I don't know how I feel about this, and a lot of people at the race event, which I'm about to take you to, they weren't fans of this as well. They wanted some different battery connectors because you're going to need, I guess, like some connectors or adapters or anything like that, unless you've got a whole stockpile of these batteries around. The frame is a lot heavier than the other ones. If you're a beginner, if you do a lot of crashing and you want a drone that can take a bit of a beating, I think this is right up that alley. But look, as a bit of an overview, that's it on the bench. That's the boring part. Let's go out to the field. You're going to see me fly this thing around at a little race week meetup. And then let's hand it over to some really, really fast pilots and just see how much performance can they get out of this. So let's go do it. See what they think in 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, to set the scene, here we are. This is one of the FPV Rebels event, a local club here in Brizzy. I'm going to link them down below. If you are anywhere near the area, go check them out. They're absolutely amazing. And as a bit of a bonus, this weekend is actually, or going on right now, is the Australian Nationals. So if you're in Australia and you want to find out where the fastest drone pilot is, definitely come say hello. I'm going to be heading over to that at the finals for that this week as well. But let's talk about this. At the FPV Rebels Whoop event, here I am flying the drone around. I had to change the name to DIYFPV because this currently wasn't available when this was out, so I didn't want to give away any spoilers. But the Emax tiny nano scout little craft, it flies good. It was stable. It didn't feel particularly fast, but the one part I felt it was a little bit lacking was you just didn't have enough thrust. So sometimes if you're coming out of a dive or a steep turn, you needed a little bit more grunt. That's where I felt like it was bottoming out. Now look, my flying skills don't do this thing justice. It was really fun to fly around, but in an actual competitive race event, to get the fastest lap times, it just doesn't have enough thrust. However, if you're a beginner looking to jump in, this is a fantastic choice. It's robust, you're going to have a good time. You can see that other craft zooming around there in the front. But look, I like the craft. You just have to know it is a little bit heavier, but it's also going to hold up a little bit as Now, in just a moment, we're going to hand it over to Charlie and Dim Sim, two very, very fast pilots. I think that was Dim Sim that knocked me out of the air, actually, in this race. However, two things I want to make very, very clear. Number one, they have no affiliation with Emax, so those pilots might have some sponsorships or deals with other companies. Emax is currently not one of those, so I want to make that really, really clear. Everything they say is just how they feel about this craft. There's no relationship between Emax and the two pilots and their thoughts you're about to see. And number two, it's always hard to get a read on how a craft goes when you're using somebody else's radio, somebody else's goggles, goggles and somebody else's brand new drone that's just popped out of the box versus what they're used to flying. Rightio, so I know I fly like a bit of an old man, but we have two, arguably some of the fastest pilots in Australia right now. We got Dim Sim, we got Charlie here as well. Now you have both flown the HDzero Hawk right here. I'm gonna get your impressions, what you thought, if you agree on anything or if you disagree, things you like, things you didn't like, all that sort of stuff. So I wanna know about it. So it is this one right here. And we would have seen some DVR and stuff as well. Like I would put that on the screen, or maybe it's now while you're talking, whatever it is. All right. So who wants to go first? First impressions, what did you think?
Yeah, I'll go first. So first of all, I will just say I flew this on not my radio. I flew one pack. So all of this is just one pack flying.
Yes,
but
yes,
in my belief, I thought it was actually really capable for a little bind and fly, and it surprised me actually, considering how big and beefy I would think it is. And this is the first HDzero whoop I flew, and the video and everything was really good. And in the DVR you can see I get up to the ladder, and I think the only downside of this I sort of found was it sort of bottoms out a bit, but that's either after the battery sag and going right up to the top. Like we're talking, I think these are a meter gauge.
Yeah,
so
like,
it's like
6 meters or something.
4 meters or something up.
Do you normally fly HDzero?
No.
Okay, for your work?
This is what I normally fly, and this is analog.
Yeah, and that's about just on 16 grams when I looked at it on the scales.
16.3-ish.
Yes.
Around that.
And I think this is about 23.
Yes.
So not double the weight, but definitely pretty
Some
chunky.
More weight, which does have its benefits, but which I was pleasantly surprised throughout all the flying. It held up pretty good through all the maneuvers, except for a couple bottom outs or going up under really high punches, or it's that little bit extra that you want in that high range.
It's just not there.
It's just not there. But I didn't expect it to fly half as good, to be quite honest. And it surprised me.
All right.
So
I'm gonna, while this is still fresh, in case Charlie's got nothing else to talk about because you've sort of hit all the points, and then we can come back for any parts we missed. Charlie, what did you think? And I must say, when I looked at the lap times, Charlie, you did beat Nathan.
Yeah.
So, but to be fair,
that was to be expected.
but Charlie also used his own radio where you had to use my radio, which broke. So I don't know. Anyway, okay, Charlie. Yep.
I actually thought it was like surprisingly fun to fly. Like just like taking it around the course and stuff. It's almost like a spec quad, kind of like a tiny trainer or something, where you're just like you're really focusing on the lines and you can just kind of dial everything in really nicely without having to worry about that like extra bit of throttle that you wouldn't usually need in like those really light quads. Yeah, it was really fun.
Is there anything you didn't like?
One thing was just like the lens, but this is just a purely racing thing. You wouldn't notice it if you hadn't flown the other quads. It's got a bit of distortion, like compared to like the racing style cameras. You can kind of notice on the edges. It's just a bit off, but you wouldn't notice it.
So that's like the stock HDzero lens there. Okay. Yeah.
That's fine.
What about the weight? Did you have any concerns about the weight, or you quite like this for a beginner? No, I guess a beginner, just someone who wants to have fun, is really what Emax is aiming for.
Well, yeah, this quad, it was super fun to fly. Like, yeah, it was heavy. Yeah, it was like a bit, sluggish in the turns, but if you're just wanting to fly, have fun, it was great. It was good fun.
All right.
I can 100% agree. Like, he's not chilling out. That was actually... I also had fun flying it, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
It was just those extremely hard maneuvers, which you generally wouldn't expect a normal quad to pull off.
All right.
This has got tuning and weight reduction.
So probably here's the question. You're hardcore into racing. Are you going to buy this?
No.
Okay. Okay, then who should buy it? Because I know you two are really big into racing, like some of the fastest pilots we have right here. So who's this for?
Just want to have fun, or you want to just like get started, start flying around, this thing's fine. Like, it's perfectly capable.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like a performance tuned racing quad, but it does the job.
All right. Yep. Recommend it? Thumbs up, thumbs down. That's usually what I ask some people.
I think for the target market, I've started, but I want to go down the racing path into whoops. This is perfect because it is sturdier than what possibly is around for some other things, but it's not as light, so you're going to have to understand those performance issues. But I think for what you get in the durability and everything else, considering it's HDzero, it's relatively light as well, because I think it's only 0.3 grams heavier
with the
HDzero compared to the analog equivalent.
Yeah.
So I think in all round of everyone just trying to get into racing into that side, I think that's perfect racing beginners.
I think also just for having fun. Like just even you don't have to be out here racing to.
Oh, no.
You could be having this in the office, in a little park, cruising around. Yeah, no, I think they've done a good job. All right, it's final verdict: thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs in the middle.
I'm gonna say thumbs up. I'm gonna 100% agree.
Too easy. All right, and huge shout out to these two. Do you have any socials or anything like that?
Just dim sim, to be
Okay.
honest.
All right,
All right, I'll put some links in the comment below. We'll see if we can get some, like, next time we get some real spec'd out racing quads,
Yeah.
we'll see if we can get you guys on the sticks as well and doing that.
Awesome.
If you guys want to see that. All right, thank you. Something I want to make really, really clear here. This is probably important professionally and also regarding those two pilots, I guess, Charlie and Dim Sim. Neither of those pilots are sponsored by Emax. When you get up to that top level of racing, sponsorship does matter. There is often times when people need to be repping the right hats or flying the right brands, anything like that. A huge shout out to them for flying Emax, giving it a go and giving us their honest impressions. And neither of those two pilots have anything to do with this nanoscout or with Emax or anything like that. They have no affiliation with this brand. So anything that they were saying was purely their honest thoughts, impressions on just how this goes. And I have to say, hats off to Emax because both of them really seemed to like it. Yes, they could feel the weight, it was a little bit heavier. I don't think they really liked the battery connector in here. However, when they're flying it around, they both had generally positive things to say. It felt good in the air, it was relatively smooth on the sticks. It's just a fun craft. It's also durable, it's going to take a beating. So when you are a beginner, when you are crashing, I think that's exactly what we need in this hobby to get people flying and having a good time. And the important part to note is, even if you have the world's fastest drone, something like the Hummingbird, unless you've got the skills to pay the bills, it is absolutely meaningless. They would be so much faster than I could ever be versus an old man like me. Even with the fastest, most fragile whoop out there, they're still going to absolutely smash my lap times using a craft like this. So I'm going to say, hats off to Emax. I really like what you're doing. It's not going to be for everybody. It's not going to be for those pro racers. But if you just want to have fun, get into the hobby, and now you can do it with some HDzero built in as well. It's a little bit lighter. I think, why not? And if you've ever got the chance to go to a Whoop event, go and do it. It was so much fun. A huge shout out as well to the FPV Rebels group here. I had an absolute blast. And something I want to really point out as well, the people there, the community that FPV seems to build, it was so supportive, so welcoming. Just doesn't matter whether you've got really good skills, whether you're an old man like myself, or a brand new beginner coming into the hobby. FPV is for everybody, and go join up to a local club because I had an absolute blast at my local one here in Brisbane. So a shout out to the FPV Rebels group as well. And as always, happy flying. Oh, also shout out to Emax. Like I do like this little HDzero all-in-one nanoscout. All right, happy flying.